Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com, coming to you with a look at game 309-310 here on Friday night. Marshall takes on Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, a 5.5-point favorite in this game, total of 57. Over at BangTheBook.com, we've got thoughts on all the games coming up here this week, including some situational betting tips for college football, as well as the NHL. College football power ratings from myself, and as we head on into the weekend here, we'll have college football system picks, best bets, total pick of the week, ATS pick of the week. Good stuff coming your way in college football over at the website, as well as some good stuff for the NFL also. Danny Vorgs' updated model projections and NFL power ratings will be posted over there. We'll have best bets, system picks, all kinds of different stuff, prop bets for the NFL here as we get closer to the weekend as well. To go along with daily NHL picks from Parker Michaels, the start of our NBA preseason coverage. We're going to start getting some college basketball coverage here shortly as well. And we also cover NASCAR, UFC, golf, tennis, esports. A lot of stuff going on over at the website. Make sure you check it all out. And please make sure you check out Bang the Book Radio as well. You can find the segments right here on our Bang the Book YouTube page, and also find them on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever it is you find your podcast content. Like I said, game 309-310 here, Marshall and FAU. Florida Atlantic, the Owls, a 5.5-point favorite at home, total of 57. And I think it's very tough to know what we have in both of these teams here so far. Marshall, 3-3 on the season, but they've beaten Ohio, who's down quite a bit from last year. They beat VMI in the opener when they just came off of a two-touchdown win against Old Dominion, where they badly outgained Old Dominion, but only won that game by 14 points. Florida Atlantic, on the other hand, their two opening games, Ohio State and UCF, you're not going to look good in those games more often than not, and the Owls did not. Since then, they've taken care of their affairs. They've won 4 straight games, but they've also played Ball State, Wagner, Charlotte, and then a win over Middle Tennessee State, which was a pretty close game overall. They played pretty well, early on in that game, but ultimately Middle Tennessee did outgain them by quite a large margin, but the Owls were just +3 in turnovers in that game. So very tough to know what we have in both of these teams, I should say, here thus far. Florida Atlantic, 96th in the country in yards per play, just 5.3. This is not at all what we would expect from Florida Atlantic. Again, obviously in the first 2 games, they played against Ohio State and UCF. Other than that, they've played some lackluster defenses, but they're still not moving the football in big chunks. Now, they are still moving very fast, 16th in the country in tempo. And when you look at their sheer number of plays with 466, they're 21st in that department. And again, with those 2 games against Ohio State and Central Florida in the mix, they only had 3.12 yards per play against Ohio State, 6.3 yards per play in their 4 wins, 3.4 yards per play in their 2 losses. So Florida Atlantic is kind of your quintessential college football team where when they step up in class, they don't look very good. When they play down, they've looked pretty good. And, of course, with them being in Conference USA here, they will be playing some pretty bad teams as we go throughout the rest of the season. Marshall, they have 6.2 yards per play on the season, 5.8 in the FBS games that they've played. But red zone efficiency has been a problem for them. Only 10 touchdowns in their 18 red zone trips, only 13 scores overall. Florida Atlantic, 18 touchdowns in 24 red zone trips. So the area inside the 20 could be very, very important here for this game, as it is for a lot of games, but maybe magnified a little bit more here in this one. Look, Florida Atlantic's still giving up 6.4 yards per play, 6.64 yards per play to the group of 5 teams that they've faced here. Marshall has played a much weaker schedule. They've given up 6 yards per play. So both of these teams, have had some defensive shortcomings here over the course of the season. Again, as I mentioned last week, Florida Atlantic, not a great look against Middle Tennessee State. They were a double-digit favorite in that game. I believe they did cover the number in that one. But still, Chris Robeson only completed 50% of his passes for only 145 yards. They did get the running game going a little bit, but Middle Tennessee, 3 interceptions and a turnover on downs. Florida Atlantic didn't turn the football over at all. So that game could have gone quite a bit differently. I mentioned that the red zones could be very important here in this game. Third down could be quite important as well. Marshall, 103rd in the country in third down defense. Florida Atlantic is 40th. When you look at the offensive side, Florida Atlantic also 30th in third down conversion rate. Marshall 78th. So Florida Atlantic much better on third down, both offensively and defensively. My line on this game, my pure power rating number is 6.5. Florida Atlantic, as I mentioned, a 5.5-point favorite here. So I lean that way for my numbers. I also lean that way because of the third down differences between these two teams. Again, Florida Atlantic's played two very good teams, four not so good teams. Marshall's schedule a little bit more balanced, but they still haven't played a lot of top-notch competition here so far this year. Neither one of these teams top-notch here either. So I don't know how much we find out for the rest of the season, but I do lean with the Florida Atlantic side here, minus the 5.5. Also kind of leaning with the under here. And this is maybe a little bit of a stronger lean than the side because, look, Florida Atlantic can make Marshall a little bit one-dimensional if they get out in front here and get a lead. And again, I do lean to the Owls in this game. Marshall's got a very good running game, 5.5 yards per carry here on the season. The passing game, not nearly as good. Marshall wants to try and take the air out of the football here. They're in the 70s in tempo. Florida Atlantic, as I mentioned, just outside the top 15. If Marshall can run the football effectively early in this game, they've got a good chance at covering, but also a good chance at keeping the first half low scoring. Could be some rain and thunderstorms in the forecast in Boca on Friday, so something you want to keep a close eye on. Going to be windy on Saturday in Boca, so if that forecast gets pushed forward a day, maybe the weather has a little bit of an impact on this game. But Florida Atlantic can't run the football. Marshall's got a decent run defense. Florida Atlantic did run the football last week against Middle Tennessee State, but that may have been more of an outlier than anything else. So lean with the Owls here on the side, minus 5.5. Stronger lean here in this game to the under 57. I'm Adam Burke for BangTheBook.com.